Florida. Just the name conjures up postcards, swaying palm trees, pink-purple skies. Retirees, leisurely cycling by the ocean in the afternoon. It's a place to come, not leave. A place of sunshine, a new beginning, an American dream wrapped in a sea breeze. But there's another Florida, a Florida that doesn't appear in travel ads or real estate brochures. When night falls, the glitz fades. Behind the beachfront condos and rooftop dinners lies a parallel world, where people sleep in their cars, where seniors rummage through trash for canned food, where silence replaces dignity. Is paradise only half the story? This video isn't meant to bash a state. It's meant to lift the veil on what's been there all along. We don't criticize, we investigate. Let's get started. Number 1. Florida's postcard isn't the full picture. It was supposed to be the final chapter. Warm weather, quiet beaches, a small home by the ocean. That's how Florida sold itself to millions chasing peace after a lifetime of work. But something changed. Today, if you walk a few blocks past the resorts, past the palm-lined streets, you'll find something else. Tents on sidewalks, people over 60 sleeping under streetlights, and trash cans doubling as kitchens. This isn't a movie, this isn't fiction, this is Florida in 2025. The numbers tell the story. In Central Florida, more than 24% of the over 31,000 homeless individuals are aged 55 and older. Think about that. Almost 1 in 4 homeless people here has gray hair and decades of taxes behind them. This isn't about bad luck. It's about a system that gave up on them when they needed it most. They once had jobs. They paid rent. They believed in a future. Now, their dreams sit in the back seat of a parked SUV. A few blankets, a plastic bag of meds, some canned soup. That's not retirement, that's survival. And yet, Florida still shows you beaches. How did we get here? How did the state known for sunshine become a shadowland for its seniors? And more importantly, how long before this becomes normal everywhere else? Let us know what you see in your city. Are these stories happening near you too? Number 2, when retirement feels like a setback. You won't find it in brochures, you won't see it in tourism ads. But according to a 2024 report from the Florida Policy Institute, the number of older adults without stable housing has doubled in the last 5 years. The trend is sharpest among those aged 65 and older, many of whom live on fixed incomes that haven't kept pace with inflation. As of early 2025, in Miami-Dade County, 14% of the adult homeless population is over 65, compared to just 8% in 2019. That's nearly a 75% increase in under 6 years. And statewide, more than 22% of adults without permanent shelter are 55 or older, based on data from the Department of Children and Families of Florida. But behind the stats is a quieter truth. These aren't people who gave up. Many have worked decades, paid taxes, supported families. They were promised dignity. Now they're navigating survival in a system that doesn't see them. Worse, the tools meant to help them, like subsidized housing or rental assistance, have waiting lists so long they outlast the very people applying. In some counties, the wait time exceeds 10 years. Let that sink in. Do you think housing is still a basic right? Has it become a privilege only few can afford? They did everything right. So why are they left behind? Comment, "I see you," to show someone out there still cares. Stick around, the next part might be the hardest to watch. But the most important, roam kind, seeing the unseen. Number 3. Growing old shouldn't mean disappearing. I met her near a bus stop just outside Tampa. She was 72. Her name was Elaine, but she said, "Just call me E." She had 3 plastic bags, a walker, and a smile that tried its best to cover the weight in her eyes. "I used to be a nurse," she told me, "for 35 years. Took care of people. Now I'm just trying not to be a bother." Elaine had a pension. She had paid into Social Security her whole life, but after her rent jumped by $600 in 6 months, she had to leave her apartment. Shelters were full. Her children lived in other states, barely surviving themselves. She'd been sleeping near the library, sometimes in a church parking lot when security wasn't strict. There are thousands like Elaine across Florida, not addicted, not irresponsible, just aging into poverty, a silent, shame-filled process that turns people from caretakers into ghosts. In a society that values productivity above all, what happens to those who can no longer produce? This isn't just about housing. It's about worth, about dignity, about how we treat the ones who built the very systems we live in. So here's a thought. What if growing old didn't have to mean growing invisible? What if E wasn't an exception, but a priority? Number 4. The dream that turned into debt. They called it the land of second chances, where people came to retire with dignity, stretch their savings, and feel the sun on their backs. But that dream didn't just fade, it flipped. In cities like Orlando and Tampa, reality now whispers a harsher truth. What was once a dream is now a setup. The average cost of living has surged far beyond what retirement incomes can handle. But more than that, it's the unpredictability. Rents go up suddenly. Utility bills spike. Insurance doubles. It's not a crisis, it's a pattern. And this pattern breaks people quietly. Older adults especially, those without family nearby, find themselves one step away from losing everything. They're not falling through the cracks. There are no more cracks left, just a wide open gap. No matter how carefully they planned, the system always moves faster than their ability to adjust. Ironically, those who once owned homes, who once owned assets, are now all but gone. Why? Because real estate is no longer a place to live, but a basic tool. The first job, and the main financial gain, was in the Florida breadbasket, driving up prices and transforming the housing market to make money. Locals are being pushed out of their primary homes to provide affordable space for Airbnb to shorten the term and appreciate in areas. And when they can no longer afford to buy a home, no longer be able to design a home, the options left are to live temporarily, to live crowded, or not to live at all. You can cut meals, skip prescriptions, sell your belongings, but eventually, when housing eats more than half your income, there's no belt tight enough. So we ask you, what does retirement mean if it means sacrificing your safety, your health, and your home? This isn't about fear, it's about clarity. Because if it's happening here, it can happen anywhere. Let's stop asking how people ended up here and start asking why the system made it so easy. Number 5. Poverty isn't a crime, but it's treated like one. There's a new kind of math in Florida. It doesn't count dignity. It doesn't measure stability. It only calculates returns on investment. And when that becomes the equation, people start disappearing not from the state, but from its priorities. We spoke with Dr. Lorraine H., a housing policy researcher at the University of South Florida, who's tracked the state's housing trends over 2 decades. Her words were direct. What we're seeing isn't accidental. Florida's housing market is not broken. It's working exactly as it was designed. For profit, not people. What we're seeing isn't accidental. Florida's housing market is not broken. It's working exactly as it was designed. For profit, not people. In the past 3 years alone, investment firms have acquired over 1 in 5 single-family homes sold in the state. That means everyday buyers, especially older adults on fixed incomes, are pushed out, replaced by corporate landlords who set prices based on algorithms, not human needs. According to a 2024 statewide housing report, median rent in urban Florida has increased by over 35%, while the average retirement income has grown less than 5%. That gap? It's where people like Carolyn, Elaine, and thousands more fall through. The expert consensus is clear. Unless policy changes aggressively rent caps, public housing investments, community land trusts, the spiral will accelerate, and the vulnerable will always be the first to fall. What would happen if Florida treated homes as homes, not assets? What if stability was considered more valuable than short-term gain? These aren't economic questions, they're moral ones. A spokesperson for the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity responded to our request for comment. We acknowledge the housing challenges, particularly for seniors and fixed-income residents. That's why the state has recently expanded funding for affordable housing and streamlined development approvals. The reality is, change takes time, but we're moving in the right direction. Whether that pace is fast enough remains a matter of debate, and maybe it's time we all did the math again. If you read between the numbers, the truth is loud. Do the math in the comments, because someone needs to recalculate what matters. You'll want to stay. The ending may surprise you more than the start. Number 6. Paradise built on overworked shoulders. There was a time when Florida's beach towns felt like communities. People waved from their porches. Neighbors knew each other's names. But when surviving becomes a full-time job, connection becomes a luxury. You see it in shuttered corner stores and darkened front porches. Elderly residents don't walk at sunset. Families don't picnic in the park. Locked doors, drawn curtains, and security systems have replaced neighborhood block parties. The silent message: fend for yourself because no one else will. Yet Florida's tourist economy doesn't sleep. In 2025, essential worker hotel maids, dishwashers, valet drivers are the gears keeping the luxury machine running, but the machine pays no mind to who gets crushed underneath. A 2025 Florida Department of Economic Opportunity report revealed that 62% of service workers earn below the state's living wage threshold. These aren't high school side jobs. They're full-time adults with kids, aging parents, and overdue bills. In Fort Lauderdale alone, average rent jumped 32% in just 2 years, but wages barely moved. So even those with 2 jobs live out of cars, couch surf with relatives, or share single bedrooms with strangers. Behind every oceanfront resort lies a network of exhausted people scrubbing, lifting, cleaning only to go home to uncertainty. We interviewed a logistics manager at Miami International Airport. He said, "At night, some of the cleaning crews just stay in the break rooms. No one questions it anymore. We all know there's nowhere else to go. So when the people who clean your room, serve your drinks, and carry your luggage sleep in their cars, what does that say about the dream we're selling?" Number 7. The quiet collapse nearby. Step outside the tourist zone, and you'll see the same crisis unfold in Florida's small cities and working-class suburbs. In Sarasota, a coastal town known for arts and affluence, over 21% of municipal employees now commute more than 90 minutes each way. Why? Because they simply can't afford to live in the city they serve. Bus drivers sleep in vans. Kitchen staff rinse off at gas stations. Single moms deliver food at night and change sheets by morning. These aren't people who failed. These are the people Florida depends on. In Naples, a non-profit director told us bluntly, "Our city is being held up by workers who can't even afford a zip code here. We want their labor, not their presence." The worst part? They're not invisible, just ignored. Many of these workers used to rent in the area until short-term rentals, rising insurance premiums, and investor buyouts pushed them out. Now, they live 2 counties over. They show up late, not out of laziness, but because their bus ride takes 2 hours and their car broke down weeks ago. And still, they show up. One cook we met said, "If I miss one shift, I miss rent. If I miss rent, I lose the car. If I lose the car, I lose the job. Then I lose everything." This isn't resilience. It's desperation, dressed as responsibility. So we ask again, if those who carry Florida on their backs can't stay afloat, who is this paradise really for? Number 8. The system that protects no one. There's a painful irony playing out in Florida. When people finally ask for help, the help is either gone or locked behind years of waiting. In 2025, the Section 8 housing voucher programmes a lifeline for low-income residentials wait lists stretching over 15 years in major counties like Miami-Dade and Orange. If you lose your home at age 60, your turn might come at 75 if you're still here. That's not a safety net. That's a waiting game with time most don't have. Even basic support is tangled in bureaucracy. One mistyped name on a form? Rejected. One missing phone call? Case closed. Understaffed welfare officers, overwhelmed social workers, and outdated systems mean that real people, often the elderly or disabled, are lost in the paper maze. In Jacksonville, a food program for homebound seniors was suspended indefinitely in early 2025 after state funding cuts. One elderly woman we met, Maria, used to get 2 meals a day. "Now, I eat when the neighbors remember me," she said, quietly. Meanwhile, enforcement systems remain swift. Police are dispatched within hours to break up tent encampments, ticket car dwellers, and cite volunteers for sharing meals without a permit. Assistance moves like molasses. Punishment moves like lightning. This isn't just a broken system, it's a system that works faster to punish than it does to protect. And the result? More people fall, and fewer are caught. Number 9. Hunger isn't just about food. Most people think hunger is just about the body, an empty belly, a skipped meal. But in Florida, in 2025, hunger goes deeper. It doesn't just gnaw at the stomach, it chips away at self-worth, mental health, and basic human dignity. Imagine trading your only hot meal for enough gas to run your car heater through a freezing night, or skipping food to make sure your phone stays charged, because if caseworkers can't reach you, your aid is gone. This isn't just about calories. It's about being forced to choose between survival and identity. We met George, a 71-year-old retired mechanic living in his old pickup. He said, "I haven't felt full in 3 weeks. But worse, I haven't felt seen in 3 years." And he's not alone. According to recent reports, over 30% of elderly homeless Floridians are skipping meals regularly, not just due to lack of food, but to avoid shame. Many refuse food donations in public, not because they don't need it, but because accepting help in front of others feels like admitting they've disappeared from the society they once built. So here's the real question. When hunger starts taking pieces of who you are, not just what you eat though, much longer, until there's nothing left, let's talk about it. And this time, let's not look away. Number 10. A chapter still waiting to be written. If you're still here, you're probably asking, so what's actually working right now? It's not magic, but there are real policies and real people taking action. Tenant protections are starting to take shape. In July 2025, Florida passed HB 365, a law that prohibits landlords from increasing rent mid-lease for affordable housing units that receive state or federal subsidies. It won't stop all rent hikes, but at least it protects tenants from being blindsided halfway through a contract. Budgets are being allocated. The Florida Housing Finance Corporation approved nearly $300 million in the 2025 budget cycle to support affordable housing projects. New income and rent limits also took effect on April 1, 2025. That money isn't just building new homes, it's about keeping communities intact. The Live Local Act was also strengthened this summer, requiring at least 40% of units in new developments to remain affordable for 30 years, while streamlining zoning for religious and mixed-use properties. It means more real options for renters and working families. Microhousing is catching on in cities like Miami, offering units up to 36% cheaper than traditional rentals. Living small but stable is proving far better than waiting endlessly for solutions that never come. None of these changes are miracles, but they are deliberate steps forward. Representative Angela L., a Florida state legislator who co-sponsored the Live Local Act, emphasized, "This legislation is not a silver bullet, but it's a foundation. We need public-private partnerships, local government cooperation, and continued oversight to ensure that affordability isn't just a promise, but a measurable outcome." And they prove this. Florida still has the power to choose what matters. So the question is, who writes the next chapter? Will lawmakers double down protecting tenants, investing in neighborhoods, expanding micro-living? Or will tourism brochures keep overshadowing public responsibility? If a retired teacher, a group of students, or a senior veteran can plant seeds of change in the middle of a crisis, then surely a state with a multi-billion-dollar budget can do the same. Florida doesn't need pity. It needs plans. It needs follow-through. The American dream doesn't disappear in a storm, it's washed away by neglect. But here's the truth. The final line hasn't been written yet. And maybe we're the ones holding the pen. So, Florida still shines in the brochures. The beaches still sparkle. The resorts still sell dreams by the night. But a warm cocktail on a rooftop won't tell you that someone just traded dinner for a gallon of gas one street over. Funny, isn't it? In the land of abundance, a sandwich now costs more than dignity. They don't need pity. They need to be remembered. So if you're full tonight, remember who's still hungry. Thanks for watching Roamkind. See you next time, where we'll keep unwrapping the parts of America they don't want you to see.